I'm just waiting for. Oh, g'day, Alice. How are you?
Hi, good, thanks, Hamish. How's it going?
Yeah, it's pretty good, eh?
Yeah. Loving life in New Zealand?
Always. I'm an extreme extrovert trapped in a room by myself for 16 hours a day. It is fantastic.
Yeah, I imagine.
No, it's pretty good. Thank you. What about yourself?
Yeah, no, going well. I think I can hear Heidi.
Oh, we got a bit of
and
feedback.
a bit of feedback. Yeah.
It was good feedback, though. I'll just wait for all our panelists to join.
Yeah, so I think Martin is... Oh, there's Martin and... How's it going, Martin?
A lot of feedbacky echo from somewhere.
Yeah, I think I can't hear feedback anymore now, but I think Heidi might be joining. She's trying to dial in from outside, so...
So I often make jokes about Australian NBN or National Broadband Network, and I just feel very vindicated right now. That's all I'm going to say. I live in the country, like even in New Zealand, small as it is. I live way outside of the city, and anyway.
Yeah, and you still have better broadband than us. Yeah.
Sorry.
Definitely true. Oh, you're allowed to make those jokes across the ditch. We always make them at New Zealanders, so.
Yeah, I mean, in the session just gone, Rob reminded everyone that I'm a sheep farmer. And, that's wonderful, an Australian telling a New Zealander that.
Yeah.
All right. I'll just wait for Heidi just to see if she can join. Yeah, there is a little bit of feedback.
Yeah, I could hear a little bit.
Okay, what I'll do, Alice, if you... I just muted myself. Yeah, I believe that I am coming out someone's speaker and then back into their mic. Okay, I'm going to mute myself. Alice, do you want to speak and see if this is continuing?
Do a test. Awesome. Cool. Thanks, everyone, for joining. We'll have a look. We'll see where this feedback is coming from because we have an hour-long awesome panel coming up. So we'll get it sorted.
Yeah. Martin, Kearney,
Yep.
Could you mute yourself? I think it's you. So I'm going to keep talking. And what the heck? I'm not hearing feedback.
No, neither am I.
Is actually hearing your voice. And whatever I heard, I never want to sound like that ever again.
Okay. Yeah, there's nothing worse than your own voice.
Yeah, tell me about it. Now Martin's gone. So, Heidi's gone. You know what, Alice? We'll just do a lit panel together.
Awesome. We've got this. Yeah, this is the beauty of having live virtual events. Half the fun is getting this tech right. When we're talking about all this crazy hardcore tech, we need to manage a whole new platform, and then getting our head around On24, it can be a bit challenging.
Yeah. Actually, one of my clients, and don't worry, I won't name it out of because I can't name it. But they do a virtual conference platform, and so I've been building out their Azure resources and implementing DevOps pipelines and talking to them about, hey, here's some. Yeah. Martin, I think it's yours. What if you just mute yourself? I don't know. And so we're doing DevOps for a virtual conference. And I tell you what, so I looked through all the bugs and I've set up monitoring and stuff. Never had one where there's been, vicious audio feedback. Okay, what we might do, I can't name the client. You know, I want to, but they're awesome.
Yeah, no, you have to be nice, especially when things are being recorded.
Exactly. But I am going to be talking to them about deploying to their database with some certain tools. Anyway,
awesome.
Martin, how are you?
Hopefully that's a little bit better. It might have been that my fancy green screen on the camera was causing a little bit of lag.
Oh, maybe.
All right, so we're just got to wait for Heidi. Will we wait? You tell me, this is your panel.
Yeah, let's give it another...
I did see her
minute.
briefly hooked in and then dropped off again.
Yeah, we'll just I'll check on the chat. Martin, I can still hear a little bit of feedback. So maybe what we could do is when you're not talking, you could just maybe mute yourself just to prevent. And then remember to unmute.
Yeah. That's one of the other things I've noticed, now that we're working virtually outside of, is that often you've got to go, can't hear you, you've muted.
It's a catchphrase of 2020. Hey, you're on mute.
Can you hear me? Can you see my screen yet?
Yeah, we can hear you. Just a little bit of feedback, but it's okay. But I think I just got a message from Heidi. She's having a few computer problems, so she said, let's get started without her, and she'll join when she can.
Well, everyone, this is Heidi Hasting. She'll turn up eventually. Heidi is a state government employee, but is not representing them here. All the opinions are her own. I know Heidi. These are her opinions. But yeah, it'll be great when she turns up. And I'm going to stop talking because, Alice, you can introduce yourself.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Hamish. For those of you on the call who don't know me, my name's Alice Drummond. I'm based in Melbourne, Australia. I'm a Microsoft MVP for the data platform. I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer and co-founder of Discovery AI. So that's a data analytics and graphic design company where we specialize in environmental applications. So it's a bit about me, and let's hand it over to Martin. We'll hear a bit more about our journey in a minute.
Yeah, so looks like we're a bit of snap on there, Alice, with the Microsoft MVP and MCT part on things there as well. I'm a lead data consultant at Telstra Purple. You probably heard Hamish goes on about how many days he's been in IT. I just simplify and just say I started with SQL Server in the last century.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much for being part of our panel, Martin. It's one thing that Heidi and I really wanted to do was to make sure that this conversation is not just about women in tech. It's about how everyone can empower women in tech. And I know coming along to your meetups and all the different conferences and events you organize for the community, you're a really big advocate for women in this industry. So it's great to have you on board, and really excited to hear what your voice in this conversation will be like. So awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Yeah.
Oh,
sorry, what was
while
that?
we wait.
Awesome. I think we've got Heidi.
It's so bright and sunny in Adelaide that we can't even see Heidi's hair behind her.
Alrighty.
Yeah. And the sound's a little bit low, Heidi. Have you got your microphone?
I know.
I could hear some laughter.
Oh my God.
Okay, so what we might do, we might go to the first question. And by the way, Martin Kearney, it's 7,948 days. 7,948.
And counting.
Alrighty. First question for y'all. How did you get into this amazing world of tech?
Yeah, so Martin, did you want to go first? Being in this data world for ages?
I have, and I completely bluffed my way into it. I hadn't really been doing much in the way of data work before I moved to Australia. There was a little bit involved in it of looking at systems and trying to make them efficient for quality management systems where I was working, and had played a little bit with SQL Server at that point. Came out to Australia, changed a life there, and went, you know what? I think I'm going to be a SQL Server DBA. And sure enough, a couple of weeks later, there I was, first job involved with SQL Server, and onwards and upwards from there. It's been a fun journey of just various stages on my career where there's been a slight change of tack, which has opened up a huge amount of more doors for me. And it's something there to keep progressing, keep developing, and look for those opportunities. And it'll give you so much more reward in what you do throughout your career.
Yeah, definitely. I guess in this industry, we're really lucky. It just keeps changing. It keeps us on our toes, and there's always something new to learn. It never gets old. Yeah, fantastic. So a bit about how I got into technology. It's a bit different to Martin and to Heidi as well. I've got a background in environmental engineering. So I was working as an environmental engineer, specializing in water resource modeling. So I did do a little bit in data, but working primarily in environmental models and dealing with massive spreadsheets. So I'm a real traditional business user. And one day I was actually working a little bit with our innovation team at this consulting company I was working at. And I stumbled across Power BI, and it was amazing. Literally blew my mind. I was like, wow, we could do an entire week's worth of work in half an hour. And it was incredible. So I loved it. I always had an appreciation for data, but it wasn't until I started kind of looking into these new tools that I just loved it. So Christian, my husband, and we decided to take a bit of a leap of faith and start up our own consulting company a couple of years ago. So we specialize in data analytics, and it's been a massive steep learning curve. So every day, every week, we're learning something new, but the world of tech, it keeps changing. So we've been loving it. And welcome, Heidi.
Hi, can you hear me now?
From Adelaide. Yes, we can.
Yay! Yay!
Awesome.
Sorry. Hi, everyone.
Did you want to give us a little bit, a bit of your background, Heidi, and how you got into tech? Because I know you're super passionate about this stuff.
A little bit of a spiel about me. Okay, so I'm from Adelaide, South Australia. I grew up in a farming background, country SA. So my things were playing computer games with my brother and helping my dad and my mum with the PC. So I was like, well, I can either do cross-stitching or go into IT. So I went into IT, and then I said to my parents, well, if I fail at university, I'm coming home, and I never failed. So I just kept going
That's
from
awesome.
there. And then I got into the SQL family because my first IT job, they took me to a user group, and I think I've gone to every single one that I've heard of since then. So.
Wow, that's amazing. And I know from hearing about your holidays, you just travel the world when you can, going to all of the conferences, meeting everyone you can.
I know. People laugh at me. They're like, what are you doing for your holiday? And I'm like, I'm going to a conference. So last year it was Auckland, India, Portland, all over the place.
Yeah, some people
That's
plan
awesome.
in the sunshine and the beach. Heidi plans hers around user groups and conferences.
Yeah. I did go to Hawaii, but it was like 2 weeks short of a conference. So it didn't quite work out. But as you can see, I've got sun outside, so I'm okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. And we really want to hear from everyone on the call how you got into technology as well. So I think if we go to the next slide, Hamish, I think we've got an audience poll. So we'll see if this works. If everyone on the call... Sorry, we've got a little bit of feedback.
Just quickly, Alice, I didn't realise you're well, I actually knew that you did some environmental stuff, but I have a degree in chemical engineering and did a whole heap of stuff in environmental engineering and wastewater engineering.
Awesome. Oh, cool. So you speak our language.
I sure do. Now,
awesome.
I think I clicked submit, but I'm worried. Okay, so audience, please click on the buttons and choose your answer. You know, how did you get into technology? I love computers and data. I had a career change later in life. We've got about 17%.
It's the way of the future.
I'm going to make a deal with the audience. I'm going to keep talking, or you can finish the poll. So, I started engineering, and I had to do 20 pages of manual calculations because I was like, I don't need a computer. I can do this. So I did 20 pages worth of because the numbers are going up. They want me to finish the story. And I was like, I've lost Martin. He's probably like, I've heard this story. So I had 20 pages of calculations. Whoa, the numbers are really skyrocketing. 20 pages. Here's the deal. I got to the 20th page of my calculations and realized I'd made a mistake on page 2.
No.
And to get to the 20 pages, it's taken me 4 hours. The next day, I went and bought a computer.
Yeah. It's amazing how much faster it is when you can just program it. But you have to be able to do it manually, otherwise you don't appreciate it. You don't appreciate that click of the button and everything's automated.
Yeah, you've got to go back to first principles as well. Go back to doing it the hard way, so you understand what it's doing and make sure that your automation's doing what you want it to do and expect it to do.
I feel like it should be automation in moderation as the next tagline. It's like people got to automate everything, and it's like there's got to be the trade-off. If you spend so much time automating like a 5-minute thing that you do once in your life, that's a bit much. It's like automate in moderation.
Automation and moderation, I love it.
Totally automate, just moderate it.
Yeah, I do agree with that, Mike. My take on that is, how do I know that I'm only going to do it once? So if it depends, if it's, and it definitely depends, but if it is something that I think, well, I might give it to someone else, then I might automate it. I don't know. But I do agree, you can't automate it. Good. Well, time is moving on, so I'm going to finish the poll.
Yeah, let's see. We've got a few more polls, so people have more of a chance if they missed out on this one.
All righty.
I'm excited. I wonder if it'll be like a skew of results. Oh. Let's see.
So it looks like lots of people love computers and data. We've got the hardcore IT tech people on this call. Awesome.
Yeah, they love it, but it's not the way of the future.
But it's important
That's
to
really
love
interesting.
What you do. It's important to love what you do. You're going to be doing it for a lot of the day. So it's like you want to enjoy.
Yeah, I think there's probably quite a crossover between the first and the last one there. That you kind of fell into because it is something you love doing. That must I'm guessing for the people that chose one way or the other, that was quite a tough choice as to which one exactly it was.
Yeah, definitely.
I find talking to some people, like, they don't realize they're working in this data. They're like logistics people. They're like, I borrowed Power BI to do some charts and things, and I was doing some forecasting, and it's like, you're working in the data space. But they don't call it that. They call it like logistics and planning or financial accounting. But it's like, we're all data people.
Or environmental engineering.
Yeah, exactly. It's all blending together. Awesome. I think that's really interesting. I think on the next slide we've got, so we've tried to weave in stories from other of our female kind of data leaders from the community.
Hi, my name is
Heidi's reached out.
And I'm a Microsoft Data Platform MD. I did my master's in statistics and got into the technology field. Those days when I went to the technical conferences, I hardly used to find any females. Gradually, the number has been increasing, but that is not enough. So I thought I should do something to make a difference. I started teaching game development and databases and data visualization classes since 2016 to 9 to 15-year-old kids. I ensured that each of my batch contained at least 60 to 70% girls. I believe that if we expose the girls to technology at an early age, they might pursue a career in STEM. That is my take. Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Awesome having Dira from New Zealand.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's just another. Sorry, go for it, Hamish.
Oh, okay. I was just apologising. I wasn't sure if the video would play if I clicked next and I cut you off, so I was just apologising for cutting you off there, mate. Anyway, you go.
Oh, no worries. No, I think we're trying to put lots of kind of tech into this panel, so it's we're all learning on this one. But yeah, Indira is amazing. She's got a lot of she's a real big advocate for women in tech, so it's awesome to have her voice. We've got a couple more videos coming up as well, including one from her daughter Meta as well, so it should be interesting.
Yeah, I think that's one of the really cool things is, you know, how her daughter's coming in as well and helping out and taking part and becoming a great part of the community already. So I reckon she's going to have some really great opportunities just from all the people she knows.
Yeah,
totally.
Absolutely. So her daughter, I moderated her daughter's first ever presentation in Germany. Well, you know, virtually. And her daughter and her mum are such inspirations for, you know, people that work with data, for children. And you know what, even for parents, you know, like if you've got children, it's like, oh my goodness, you know, we need to foster and guide and just like feed on the enthusiasm that kids grasp technology. You know, there is no boundary. They're just going to give it a go. And Indira is, you know, she's a wonderful, wonderful person. And to see what she's doing with her daughter and to see where her daughter's going is truly inspiring. Alrighty, second question for y'all. What kind of tech do you use to do your job from both a hardware and a software perspective?
I'll go first because my answer is short. I work mainly in the front end. So I mentioned before I specialize in Power BI. So I get to work mainly with the business users. I have to kind of dabble in the back end in Azure SQL a little bit and kind of custom coding when I have to. But I really enjoy working kind of in the design space. So I don't use any hardcore hardware or software for my job.
Yeah,
how about you, Martin?
The nature of things these days is that you don't really need that much in the way of your own hardcore hardware. You know, something that's got a browser connection, a fast browser connection, and you've got where most of the technology is leading to with cloud anyway. So, you know, run it off a tablet if you want, or even off your phone for so many things. And I know Hamish is giggling away there because I've seen some of his comments about deploying stuff from his phone from random places around the globe. But, you know, from what I see, there's certainly the various clouds have got a huge footprint, but there's still a lot of customers using their own data centers. But even with that, that's now so much of it is, it's almost all virtualized. So you've really got almost a similar experience to some extent abstracting things away. So, once you learn how you can, you start to manipulate things across different environments, those skills become transferable. It's easy to imagine what's going on under the covers and go, which bit do I need to actually, pay interest to? And most of that's now sitting at a higher level with databases sitting on there, with analysis services, cubes, with Power BI report server. All these things that would be using, from a service-based perspective in the cloud as well, you can easily sit on your on-premises stack.
Yeah, I'm a bit the same with Martin there. It's anything and everything. Well, more so anything and everything I can afford to have. I love playing with the new gadgets. So I've got like the Raspberry Pis, I've got the Arduinos, I've got 2 Surface laptops. I love my home automation. So this is my little Philips Hue light. I've just put little Xiaomi sensors all over my house. Hardware, anything I can afford. Software, anything that gets the job done. But I like to not go with too much different software. So I use my standard Visual Studio, Management Studio, Azure Data Studio, Visual Studio Code. And then I'm very lucky in my current job to be able to have Redgate for my day job, which is awesome. Before I was just using it as a friend of Redgate and going, hey, we should use this. It can really help you. Like I saw a presentation probably 3 years ago, if not 4, at a Redgate SQL in the City about data generator. And I just last year I was like, we need test data. Let's use data generator. Let's get it. And so I bought my own license because I knew it would add value to my day. So anything I can afford.
Yeah, that's true. Even though it's not physical, sometimes even getting all the cloud-based and subscriptions, it's really expensive.
Yeah, it's good to try them out because
awesome.
You need to know what new tech's out there. Like I've had a bit of a play with Azure Functions and web apps, but I don't necessarily use it all the time. It's like just being aware that it's there. Because sometimes
what you're trying to do. Understanding what you're trying to do and picking the right configuration of the service for that is the best way to keep the costs down. Just going, I need to spin up an Azure SQL database for something I'm going to do, a little test here today and a little test there tomorrow. Well, think about it. Do you really need to provision, an S0, S1, whatever? Serverless might actually work out cheaper for you in that instance if you're not too concerned about the spin-up time. But the fact you're only doing a couple of transactions, your costs for when it's actually operational may be better. So having that awareness of what's out there gives you a far better control over your spend as well and make more informed decisions.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Even just knowing when my MSDN subscription is going to run out, it's like, okay, I've got a day left. Max out trying stuff.
That's awesome. Should we see what the audience thinks if we go to the next slide?
Absolutely, we can. But by the way, Heidi, there is a dashboard in Azure that will tell you that. It can be honest.
Yeah. I love it. The worst feeling when you get the message that says your subscription has been disabled due to the cap.
Especially when there's still 20 days in the month.
Alrighty. Just a quick poll for y'all. Just see what tech do you use most. Funny story, and I'm going to keep talking till we get some people voting. So you're all used to this. You know how it goes. Previous session, I was talking with Damien Brady, an absolute legend in the DevOps space. And I was telling him how a couple of weekends ago, I wrote an Azure function. So let's just think about that. I generally deal with databases and Azure, but I wrote some C# code and I wrote an Azure function. The reason why I wrote an Azure function was I was using metrics from Azure Monitor and I was scaling a hyperscale Azure SQL database, scaling from 24 vCores up to, 32, 40, whatever. The tech that I use most is whatever will get the job done. I've even written in JSON.
I I think the other thing is, like, with the tech that we've got listed here, I'm always surprised, and now I'm starting to change my tune. Like, I assume people know about companies like Redgate and products like Azure Data Studio because they've been around for a few years. And I still see people and go, hey, have you looked at Kendra Little's blog? Have you looked at the webinars they're running? And they're like, who's Redgate? And I'm like, what? So you've got to go the other way and continually assume that people have never heard of the stuff we work with as day in, day out, and keep improving that awareness. And it's so exciting to watch them once they have a look. I'm like, yeah, see, so much better.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many different tools out there. Like, being a bit of a newbie in the field, yeah, it's overwhelming. Awesome. Everyone works with databases.
I just get
Kind of almost what you'd expect.
I'd love to see the follow-up of which databases.
And I put these polling questions together, so I just lump all databases together. A database is a database to me.
Oh, good. Yeah. What we'll do is the next thing we have, I believe, is another video. So we're good to go with that.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, this one is Layla from New Zealand. So she's a massive women in tech advocate. Let's hear what Layla has to say.
Hi, this is Layla. I'm a Microsoft AI and data platform. Hi, this is Layla. I'm a Microsoft AI and data platform MVP. I'm working in a company named Red Hat, which is Red, in the field of business intelligence and artificial intelligence. I think the main reason is because technology changed a lot. For me, I struggled some personal issues about last 2 months. And when I went back to work, I feel that, oh my God, I miss a lot of things. These days actually change a lot. You need to be keep updated. You need to be attended different sessions. So that's a challenging for women who working outside and inside. Hi, this is Layla. I'm a Microsoft AI and data platform MVP. I'm working in a company named Red Hat, which is Red, in the field of business intelligence and artificial intelligence. I think the main reason is because technology changed a lot. For me, I struggled some personal issues about last 2 months. And when I went back to work, I feel that, oh my God, I miss a lot of things. These days actually change a lot. You need to be keep updated. You need to be attended different sessions. So that's a challenging for women who working outside and inside home. That's become they didn't provide them much time to do that. So I think I found that can be a struggle. So they prefer to be in a job that doesn't change that much, and they can also, in the same time, they can work at home and beat their children and their family, and also they can work. So I think that's one of the challenges. And of course, the other challenges is a cultural things that always says technology is not for women. So I think this is two main barriers that actually we have. So if we provide a way that actually we can help women to be updated about the new technologies, and they can keep them updated in the easiest way, that they don't need to kind of face lots of barrier about keeping their family and helping their family. So if we can help in that way, it can be useful.
Oh, awesome.
Nice. Yeah. Alrighty. Quick question. Do you notice a lack of women in our industry? And if so, why do you think that's the case?
Oh, can I start on that one? Yeah.
Go for it, Heidi.
I was like waiting for the okay, and then my screen like froze. So I find it really interesting. So I work predominantly in the government sector, and I would say there's almost more females than males in a lot of the teams I've been in. But then I've been in teams where there's I'm the only female. And I think in some cases it's just people are in different roles. But then I noticed when I went to user groups, I could be in a group of, say, 30 to 40 people and be between 1 and 5 females in the room. And I thought, this is a bit strange. It's Adelaide, it's small. Maybe there's not that many females in the STEM field. And then a Code Like a Girl event occurred in Adelaide just last year, and the room was packed, 60 female people all across different industries. And so I'm starting to think that perhaps for some females, it's a case of they feel maybe they'll be the odd one out or the individual, but because I have a different background, it doesn't bother me, because I went to my first user group with a male tech lead. They said, hey, let's go. We're going to this user group over lunch, and it just worked for me. So I think it's still the awareness of the different events and industries. When it specifically says women in the title, they go. When it doesn't specifically say it, there seems to be less of an attendance. I'm not saying anything should change, but I just noticed the difference.
Yeah, that's kind of a similar experience to what I've felt as well, Heidi. I guess at our user groups, there's roughly maybe about 20, maybe 30% female attendees. Much smaller proportion of those would ever put their hand up to be presenters as well. But even at uni, when I started out, I started off doing computer and mathematical science. I remember my first semester, first unit was Java programming. I was the only female in a class of 100 people. And I was like, no, I don't want to do this. I'm switching to engineering, only to realize engineering, it's kind of the same. Civil, electrical, you're the only girl. So I kind of got used to being the only female in the room for a lot of my work. I'm lucky in the environmental industry, there is a higher proportion of females. But in the typical kind of water and civil engineering, where I did work a lot, not so much. So I think that it is kind of what you say. It's a self-perpetuating problem. If females see not so many other females there, they're kind of the odd ones out. It can be a bit daunting and a bit intimidating, and they don't really put their hand up or want to join that community.
Yeah, and
how about you, Martin, as a user group leader?
Yeah, look, I think there's a lot of it of getting the connections out and getting the feedback of it being an inclusive place to be. The other bit that I think is whether the timing doesn't always suit. With families, is there more of a press to get home after work and not hang about for the user groups, and maybe more sort of lunchtime events might be a far better fit to get a better inclusive and broader audience attending. If that's easy enough to get to, then maybe that's one way where we can help to bring more diversity, more women into the groups, being involved more. And being able to drive it as well, because it's great that I've seen so many people coming through and sticking their hands up to come and do a session in my group. I've got that kind of focus on, trying to encourage first-time people to come in and have a go. And it's been fantastic to see the response from that. And I think I've actually had more women put their hand up to come and have a go than the guys. And it's like, great, good on you for having the courage to get up there and stand up, because it can be a daunting thing to start with. But interesting, and I think there's a bit of in certain places where you get a couple of women involved and being that sort of visual what's the word I'm looking for, advocate for the organisation, and that can help to generate more interest in it as well. So when it's somewhere where there is more women in that company, it's probably encouraging to be there when people in there, and there is that encouragement. So I see that with us. We've got quite a strong percentage of women. It can be better, obviously, but I kind of see the more on our side of the fence of the data analytics, database side of things, and application developers far more. But when you get into more of the hardcore infrastructure side of things, that's still something where I see predominantly men.
All righty. What we'll do is to a poll for the audience. Do you notice a lack of women in your industry? So as before, please click. This is anonymous, so, I'm not going to hold you to account whether or not you said yes, whether you said no, or whether you said pretty even split. But while you do, just as I've done before, I'm going to talk until you all vote. And I see the numbers increasing because you've worked this out. It's like I've trained you. Hey, look, we had a note here. High schools used to assume that girls wouldn't be interested in STEM or science, tech, engineering, maths, which then leads to skewed numbers at university and in industry. I think that's probably, something that we need to consider and, work around. What do you all think? One sentence from you all. Do you think that's relevant? We assume that they won't be interested in STEM, so whatever.
No. So I don't think, from my experience and going back to my school days, it wasn't so much that it wasn't there wasn't any diversion away, but the avenues where the girls went into university courses seemed to be slightly different split at that point, even into the sciences and engineering side of things. There seemed to be a lot more of the girls from school went into things like chemistry, biology, and the engineering, maths, physics side of things did seem to be very, very male dominated.
Yeah, no, good call. Thanks for that one sentence there, mate.
I only took one breath, so it counts as one sentence.
It did. I was it was not stop. Lots of commas. All right. We'll look at the results. By the way, it's interesting because my chemical engineering degree, it was predominantly women. There was 4 of us males, and there was 6 females, which is really interesting. I think it was because we weren't assholes. I don't know. Yeah. There we go. The results speak.
While this result comes up, I think the other one is getting the exposure to it. I grew up in farming in a small little country town. It wasn't like it was technology central Silicon Valley, but my brother would play computer games. My dad had sat-nav for the farming spraying systems and everything, and we'd watch Robot Wars on the TV. So I had a little bit of exposure to tech, enough that I knew about it, whereas other things, I didn't hear about, 3D printing just didn't exist when I was growing up. So I wasn't about to pick a career in 3D printing. So I think having exposure, if you don't get exposure to it as a kid, you don't necessarily know.
Yeah, that makes all the difference. Yeah. Definitely. Awesome.
Every kid's comfortable with a computer nowadays. Some sort of tablet, phone, computer of some description.
Yeah. Now they're going to have to learn. Now it's going to be learning patience because everything's swipe, click, swipe, click.
Oh, good. We'll go on to the next question because we're coming up 3/4 of an hour in. What is the number one way we can make a substantial difference to women in tech?
Yeah, big question, hey? Hard to come up with just one. I'll go first, just really quickly. I think for me, there's so many different ways you could make a difference. But for me, transitioning a bit later in my career, one thing we've already discussed is just really trying hard to get that gender parity, especially across workplaces, also in our user groups, any of our forums, and also at a speaker level as well. Because when we see women in tech and we see they're represented, then more women will naturally flock to it, I think.
I'd like to see if there's some way where the women that have been getting involved, so the leaders like yourself, that there's some way of making sure that you're trumpeting where the opportunities are, where the networking opportunities are, and building that out more. So having that opportunity, and not just, as Heidi mentioned, where there was a big response to the Girls Who Code event, but taking it beyond that as well, getting into mixed events, just the regular meetups and whatever, so that there's a better chance of networking and finding the opportunities when they come up, to bring people in and to give them that opportunity to further their careers.
Yeah, I agree. It's just about making that community be inclusive and aware, and just continuing to share the positive experiences with everyone.
Alice, do you have anything to add?
I think they're all awesome answers. I guess we focus a lot on the community, but also it does, another way we could make a big difference is really just kind of encouraging females from all industries, all walks of life, all stages of your career, especially people still in school, just get that early influence into it, like exactly what Indira is doing with Meta, her daughter, and encouraging school kids just to have fun with tech, I think. Make it not so scary, and people can see how cool it is.
Nice. Alrighty, let's jump into a poll. How can we make a difference for women in tech?
See what others think.
So, this is the bit where you participate, my wonderful audience, by clicking once.
Yeah. And we haven't had a chat about mentoring schemes. I know that this is something that you're pretty passionate about, Martin, just mentoring people in our industry. But I think that could make a big difference for a lot of women, especially as they're starting out in their career.
Yeah, and as I said, the networking opportunities can lead into that, because you'll find the people that are willing to put their hand up and give somebody the advice and help them with the direction they want to go, and how they can get there. So, don't be afraid to come along to events, to find people that are doing things and to ask. It's often the thing that people are very receptive to doing it, but nobody actually sticks their hand up and says, "Look, I respect you as a community leader and somebody who's done a lot of the stuff. How can you help me to make sure I'm guiding my own career in the right direction?"
Yeah, absolutely. I've mentored 2 women to be MVPs, and it was awesome, right? Because they knew I was someone who cared and understood some of the things that they go through, and also just being a supportive person, which is irrespective of my. Yeah.
It's a fantastically rewarding thing to see somebody developing their career and to take steps forward once it gets there, and getting to that stage of having somebody you mentor to become an MVP. It's a massively proud moment.
Yeah, and having other females being mentors as well. Like, I know for us when we were starting out, Heidi was a massive mentor and supporter, just taking us under her wing, introducing us to this whole SQL family. So just having people who are in that community really stepping up and making everyone feel welcome.
Yep.
And it does make a difference. I mean, you can see here from the poll results. I know I was very hesitant to speak ever. And Rob pushed me for years. He's like, you should speak. And then Hamish is like, hey, why don't you come speak at Christchurch? And I'm like, sure, it's a completely foreign country. No one will know me. It'll be fine. And loved it since then. Scary as, but it's worth doing because it's such a friendly community. So once you know that, it's much easier to put yourself out there and give it a go.
Yeah, nice. All righty, we have another video of one of my good friends, Julie Kazmano. And Heidi's one of Heidi's really good friends with
Hi, my name is Julie Cosmano. I am a Principal Program Manager at Microsoft. I work in the SQL Tools and Experiences team. So today I'm going to share a practical advice for someone who's starting out. Now, this could be starting out in the tech industry or also starting out in a new role or position. So the first thing to do is to pick a skill or an experience that you want to get really good at. Do a bit of research and find a person or two that you want to aspire to be, and reach out to them and ask them if it's possible for them to become your mentor, because you're actually, in the journey of learning this new experience or new skill set. And as a bonus, once you develop that relationship with your mentor, perhaps ask, is it possible that you can do a ride-along program with them? So essentially, spend half an hour or a day with them so that you get the exposure of a day in a life with your mentor. It just gives you that real-world experience. All right, with that, I'd like to thank Heidi and Alice for letting me share my tips. Bye.
All good. Nice. Thanks, Heidi, for organising that. It's awesome.
No problem.
Alrighty. Quick question. What is one piece of practical advice you would give to someone starting out?
I think
Ask.
Who wants to go first?
Ask people. Don't be afraid to ask people. Don't think that you need to have a specific level of knowledge. Everybody's got to start somewhere, and ask the people around you. Ask your colleagues. Ask your contacts in the community. But if you're not sure about something, ask for some guidance. And there's nothing wrong with that, of not knowing how to do something or whether you're doing it the right way. Reach out that way, and that will get you moving quicker, because you will learn the stuff. You'll start to do things well, and then people will start to ask you.
Yeah, definitely. Mine's a very similar note to that, Matt, and it's really to don't be intimidated by what you don't know, because everything is changing so quickly in the world of tech that it's impossible to know everything. What's better is just to know people and have your networks to know who to ask. So you can go to people and just kind of ask that way, and not be afraid and intimidated if you don't know something.
I think my two pieces of advice would be, one, don't try and be in a team or an organization where everyone is the same as you. Like, if you get all females in a team, sometimes it can be really cliquey, and you can get divisiveness. If you get all males in a team, it's one way. You want that diversity in knowledge and in thinking, and don't be afraid to be the unique one that stands out just because you have a different opinion. And the other one, I think it was Kerr and Ray said it, on the other side of fear is learning. So it might seem fearful to start with, but once you get through the fear, you're going to learn something. So just treat it all as a learning journey. But don't always be in groups where everyone's the same, because you won't, it will feel comfortable, but it just means everyone thinks like you. You're not going to get any diversity in thinking.
Yeah, definitely. Should we? We've only got a couple more minutes left. Should we go to the next slide, which is meta, so we can learn from the juniors?
Right.
My name is Medha Bandari, and I'm 13 years old. I started liking the game development classes that I attended when I was 9 years old. I have been very fortunate enough to be exposed to technology at such a young age. I wanted to be a teacher when I was 5 years old, and when I was 6, I wanted to be a policewoman, and these changed every year. But getting exposed to all the STEM-related activities at an early age will give girls a taste of what is involved. I believe that parents and teachers in schools play an important role in getting girls engaged in STEM-related activities. Thank you.
That is pretty
That was
cool.
awesome.
It's good.
Alrighty. Last question for you all. Martin Kearney, you're allowed one sentence, but you're only allowed a maximum of 16 commas. Alrighty. How have you adapted to more women working in this industry?
Adapted? I don't know. I don't think there's. I'd like to think I haven't really changed that much, and my attitudes and how I work with everybody hasn't really changed as to whether they're male, female, or whatever. I get excited by the fact that people want to stick their hand up and speak at my user group, and that it's a side effect really that most of them have been women. But in terms of anything that's really needed to change, for me, not a great amount that I've seen. They're there, they're developing, they're becoming leaders, and a lot of great managers I've had have been women and learned a lot from them.
Yeah, fantastic. And I guess that's a great message to come through. I think that we shouldn't have to, maybe some workplace habits can kind of change to be a bit more accommodating for women, especially if we need to do a little bit more work-life balance and flexible arrangements. But I think that being in the tech industry, you can work anywhere, anytime. It's really flexible, and that's a great benefit, especially kind of for women wanting to get involved. So I guess from my perspective, being fairly new in this industry, I'm finding that people don't really see you as a female or a male. You're just kind of one of the team. So I think it's a great attitude.
Yeah, I think one of the things I've learned is to communicate, to remove assumptions. Like yes, I'm a female working in IT in a 9-to-5 style job, but it doesn't mean I have kids at home or a partner at home. I'm single, I'm on my own, and my time is mine. So I communicate to my team. It's like, no, I don't need to rush off. I'm available to do, the after-hours production change. Don't assume that because I'm female that I've got kids and need to be home. It's very different. So it's taking away those assumptions. But unless you communicate that, people don't necessarily know. And then they don't know they're making any unconscious bias. So it's important to just, if you feel that there's bias towards you, to just talk it out and move through it.
And conversely on that, Heidi, it'd be nice if you didn't have to make that out to people, that they were comfortably enough asking you and just finding out for themselves.
Yeah. Good.
You know what? Thank you, Alison, Heidi, and Martin, for being part of the conversation, and to the audience as well, for being part of it, for putting in the votes and some comments, what have you. And it's a conversation, right? And Heidi, you said it really well, and Martin backed you up in the sense of, sort of said the same thing, in the sense that we've got to communicate. And that's the key thing here. And just be nice. What's the worst that could ever happen if you're being nice? You've made someone's day, you've helped someone along a journey. And yeah, it's brilliant to have a conversation, and I really appreciate the three of you being part of this panel. It's been awesome.